This is Wendy Lieber, co-founder of Content Bacon, and I'm here with the amazing, fabulous Jane Bolin, who is co-founder and partner of PeytonBolin, as well as GNL Title, and who is also Vice Mayor of Oakland Park, Florida. So Jane, say hello.
Hello, and good afternoon.
Yes. So what you need to know now. So there's so much going on. Things change daily. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak to your clients, your community around, what you want them to know now in regards to, associations and what's happening in that world, what's happening with, communities and associations and residents and give us a little bit of insight into that.
Sure. Well, I think, it's clearly a new world, right? So we have a stay-at-home order, and everyone is being asked to stay inside their homes, with the exception of dealing with essential activities. And so I think that takes community and puts it almost at like a stop, right? I mean, it's all of a sudden virtual is how we're connecting, and we no longer really, communities are not using their common element because there's this great concern with people being infected and the cost of cleaning and all those kind of things. So common elements are shut down. So I think, for community associations, they need to pivot just like businesses are pivoting. So again, mastering the business of your association, if you look at it as a not-for-profit business, we need to pivot how the communications work to a virtual world. We also need to consider we are a business. So the association boards could really, even virtually, get together and start to look at their budgets, just like I, as a business owner, am looking at my own business budget. Where can I cut expenses? Where can we renegotiate? Because in the end, our owners are going to need to pay assessments, and many of these owners are not going to have jobs anymore, and they've been furloughed. So, the economic spiral out can happen, or the association can really take a position of, what can we do? Is there a way to actually change our assessments to make them less for a time period? Or would we have a new kind of collection policy? How would we work with each other? And then, also associations are not for profit. And I think that there is an opportunity with the Economic Injury Disaster Relief Fund through the SBA. So there is some SBA funding options, and that's something we're looking into right now. Unfortunately, with everyone going after this and it being an unknown world, they're still getting the applications together for PPP. To look at how not-for-profits work, I think is someplace else. But I think it's, putting on those caps and saying, all right, as a board, let's look at this as a business. What can we do? Just like other businesses are pivoting. And then the other thing I think it's really important inside of community is humanity.
Yeah.
Like, how are you getting together with are you letting, your community know that you're available, that there are services available? Are you getting out the word more? Are you checking in on your neighbor? I mean, those kinds of things, it's scary. You don't want to go knock on the doors. I get that. But you could send out a letter. You could drop off communications. Just people need a place to call. They might need groceries and literally have no one to call for them. So let's connect people and use what we have. And if you've got those resources, I think we got to do it. You got to think about humanity first as a community.
No, absolutely. It's a great point. So for those associations that have never operated in a virtual world and have not taken advantage of, what maybe you and I look at as like just basic communication, email, Zoom meetings, things like that. Like what guidance can you give them? Where's a place to start? You mentioned boards, getting together, like communicating during these times. What are some tips? What are some actions that you recommend for, boards and associations to be in communication with each other and their residents?
Yeah, that's really great. So I think, sort of level one is, can you do a conference call? You don't have to be a Zoom meeting first. You could have a conference call and say, hey, this is where the number everyone dials in. And there's a lot of those services for free, 1-800-free conference call, all kinds of ways to do it. Have a conference call as a board meeting and notice it that way. I really do think the next level is a video, Zoom, Google Hangouts. There's lots of services that do this. I do think the face-to-face interaction, having done it now for a couple weeks on the regular, I think it does provide connection that you don't normally have. So I would say start, if you've never done anything, just do a conference call. Just do the conference call. Everyone's got a conference line somewhere. And then after that, say, okay, let's level it up to a in-person Zoom meeting. And then you may decide it's going to be a webinar, or you may push out content as a video, but I think you just got to sort of walk before you can run.
Yeah.
So for ones that have definitely done nothing, that's where I'd have them start.
Absolutely. And how important is it? How important do you think it is for the associations or the management company to let residents know what's going on in the city? Just like maybe some residents, aren't watching the news as closely. Like, how important is it to bring in that information and to keep the residents informed what's happening at the city, county, state level?
I love that. So having been in this business for so long, there's just a handful of associations that will have like code enforcement officers show up in person, or community liaison for police show up and talk about crime reports. And there's only just, really been a handful of them. So I would say at this point, we need to make that everyone. So why? Not because you're looking for crime reports or code enforcement issues, but because you do need to know. You need to know what's happening in your city. You need to understand the county's orders, you need to understand the state's orders. And even though information is going out all kinds of ways and people feel like, oh, we're inundated with the internet, really clear information about what your community is doing inside your city, I think helps. And again, the stay-at-home order is statewide, so it may not need to be about that. It may be about the services in your city.
Right. Every
city's doing things differently, and every county has a 211 service. And people have all kinds of different needs. They might have needs for their pets, or needs, for food, or needs for companionship, or needs for health. So the more I think an association can look at it from a local level and say what's around us and who's doing what would be amazing. And I think it's really invaluable when you think about how do you build community.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So in terms of what you guys do and how you're supporting your current clients, and maybe there's some associations out there that don't have a resource like you, what should they be coming to you for? What should they be looking to you for? What can you provide right now during these times?
Yeah, so we've gotten a lot of sort of emergency COVID questions about, common elements and how do they use them, and how do you deal with visitors, and how does this all make sense? So obviously we are there for that. And for any questions you have around how to deal with screening and what do you do if somebody becomes positive, there's a lot of questions around that. So we're available for that. At the same time, I would say, send us your budgets. And if you give us a second set of eyes to take a look at that, we can do that. Let us look at your contracts and figure out other places to negotiate. Do you have force majeure clauses where we could get out of contracts? Mm-hmm. Although that is a little asterisk up to interpretation whether a pandemic is a force majeure issue. But I would say, that is sort of the preempt stuff. Like, you could have us looking at that. And then we could also be looking at if you've had amendment projects or, covenant revitalization things that have been on the sort of in the back burner. Well, this is a great time to also deal with those, ironically. So even in a crisis, this is a great time to deal with those. We've always wanted to look at the rules. We haven't really looked at them, Mm-hmm. So have a conversation with us about that. We can certainly help.
That's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure everyone's going to appreciate all of this. And how should people get in touch with you?
So our office is still virtually staffed. So 8:30 to 5, you can call us at the office, 954-316-1339. I'm available at email, jane@PeytonBolin.com. I will respond to you right away. And if you leave a message, that happens. We'll call you right back. So just give us a call, shoot us an email, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.